Hey, what's going on, guys? Episode 38 of the PokeTalk podcast. We're coming in with a Collecticon Kansas City recap. So what's going on?
Not too much. Pretty stoked. I honestly, part of me kind of wanted to record almost immediately, but we both kind of went all weekend, obviously, so there wasn't much time. But
yeah, we
still pretty excited.
Definitely got some talking points. I know. On the drive home, you wrote down some, so we'll hit all those. But we're also going to have a little guest segment, I think. We're recording this a little early, but tomorrow he's going to hop on, do a little segment, so we'll jump in there. You'll hear that shortly. So we'll just kind of break down the small section of news and then some highlights of that. We'll kind of get into our talking points of Collecticon, maybe our favorite things about it, what we didn't like, some new things we saw. Then we'll talk to him about his experience as kind of like a non-card collector and first-time attendee. So that'd be a nice perspective. So, and then after that, we're going to deep dive into all of our talking points. We'll really get into the nitty-gritty of the ins and outs of Collecticon and what we experienced. So...
Well, first off, we both know we really experienced the real KC experience. That much is for certain.
Oh yeah, got that real KC.
Yeah, real KC experience. But no, I'm pretty excited for this episode. First time we've actually had a guest. I know we kind of hinted at before. It's pretty cool that ends up being somebody that we know personally to start out, and we'd like to see more in the future. And honestly, I think there definitely will be. It seems like we've definitely been able to gain a little bit of facial recognition just by returning to this KC Con, and people know your name too, so you're showing off a lot of good stuff on your Insta, so that certainly helps.
Yeah.
But
so we're posting the video aspect of the show only on my YouTube now. Figured it just better to upload it there. I was kind of uploading them with a delayed upload. So instead we're just uploading them there, on time. So just kind of have everything in one place. We do still have the Instagram page, but yeah, just trying to drive it through all one place. So if you guys are interested, go check that out. We don't have a true video experience, but just kind of the audio up on YouTube. If you prefer just to have the video go and hear us that way. But yeah, it was nice. We wore shirts. People recognized the emblems, the logos rather, and kind of recognized our faces in a couple instances. Got to meet some pretty cool people, which we'll go through. But I guess we should talk about the old news.
Yeah, unfortunately, we do have to talk about our stuff first. We've actually kind of recorded earlier because we wanted it fresh in our minds.
Yeah.
Before all the memories, we just kind of forget about them in certain intricicities. So, but as far as the news, not a whole lot. The big thing that I kind of saw that we kind of made fun of on the trip was the Charizard EX that was debuted that's coming from Obsidian Flames. I thought I was being memed. I thought I was being trolled. And then I was like, no, this can't be real. And then I saw it again, and I was like, okay, this is either a really good troll job going on, or this is legit. And I went to Poke Beach, and I saw it. And wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Definitely quite the stunner there, isn't it?
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, I'm pretty sure I've seen proxies that look like this.
Yeah, and definitely sparkly. It doesn't look as bad as I thought. Pokemon is kind of hiding the headpiece once again, so we're definitely seeing that. But yeah, it's interesting. They actually made it look cool, in my opinion. That is for the secret rare, or what they're calling the special art. So yeah, very, very interesting for sure.
Well, the silver one I kind of like. Is that the SR? Yeah, that one. So I like the aesthetic. I think that one's kind of cool, honestly, in its design. Has a very interesting aesthetic, and I think it's really neat. But yeah, the crown thing is kind of throws you off a little bit, doesn't it? But
Yeah.
the gold one, ugh,
The gold one, yeah, it looks like he's wearing like a little clown collar or something.
I don't know.
But
It's like we're gonna put a bunch of the colors on inverted and just see what happens.
you got some static there on your mic. It's like something's dragging on it.
Oh yeah.
It's
All right.
not the cat, is it? I heard the cat earlier.
No, it's not. It's not. I've sought cover and I have a comforter.
Oh, gotcha.
While the cat, I was able to scurry into the corner a little bit, and now you know how cats are. They get all hyped up, so now he's like
He's
preying
like,
on me. I
ooh.
think. Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah.
I do like.
Anyway,
I was gonna say I do like the stars though. Like on the normal EX, you know, it's got the normal star. On the silver one, it's number 223. It's got like 2 gold stars on it at the bottom for the rarity symbol. And then for the gold one, it's got the 3 gold stars. So I do like that system. That's pretty cool. They went beyond the star now. So yeah, that's pretty cool. But yeah, I definitely like the silver one way better. I think that one should be the big one. But
yeah, I think it will be too. I think that card will be a little pricey, actually. We'll see though. But at the same time, the other one almost is like you got to have it as like a gag.
yeah,
It'll still have a Charizard tag, so I'm sure that card's still going to be $200 at least. You know.
on the post on E4 or not E4, but Poke Beach, do you see the first comment on there?
I see it. I just saw that, and
Yeah,
I was looking at it, and I was like, "Yep, that actually looks about right."
yeah, someone posted the 3-headed dragon, and then
Yeah,
the rightmost one where the gold one is like real derpy.
yeah.
But
Yeah, I mean the old school Charizard DX, the one where it's like the hollow like where it has the move and it's just like it's popping out. That was not bad. It's just these mechanics, you know. It's how they're showcasing the mechanics. It's just the actual aesthetic of it just makes it kind of the appeal isn't for everybody. I'll just say it like that.
yeah, the mechanic itself is good, like for the games and the
Yeah,
cards,
I
but
agree.
just the
I
look,
agree.
yeah, it's just
Yeah,
silly.
yeah.
But anyway, the only other big thing in news, Pokemon Sleep, by the time you're hearing this, released last week. We're actually recording this first part on release day, or the day after. We both got the new Pokeball, or Pokemon Go Plus Plus. So we'll have a couple things to say about that. I guess we
Yeah.
can cover that first. What do you
Yeah.
think of the new device?
So I actually really like it so far. Even I've only had it for not even a week yet, or I guess a week. And it kind of sucks that there isn't a watch or something like that the Gotcha had, or even the Plus did. I imagine they'll probably make some sort of accessory here eventually. And it's just I could see that easily falling down, breaking, being lost because it's like the size of like a silver dollar, and it's almost got the thickness of a silver dollar. So it's one of those things where I really want something, even if it's like a necklace or something,
It's
to
almost like
have it.
double the size of Silver Dollar. Like
Well, it
it
might
is
be.
pretty big.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I'm looking at it closely. I guess it is about $2 silver, but still, the whole thing is it can be easily be lost. Like you set it down, and there's a lot of things how it could go lost. But I will say I feel like its actual functionality works better than the Gotcha. There's more to it, which I like. Um, I haven't actually tried the Ultra Ball feature. I first tried it in the first day, and there's issues. I haven't tried it since then. But honestly, I'm saving my Ultra Balls for GoFest
Yeah.
because I'm going to New York with like 2,000 Ultra Balls. So it's like I only got like 800, so or 850 or something like that. So I'm basically going to have a bag full of Ultra Balls, and yeah, my shiny rate should be a lot better. And in a city like New York with the spawn rate, oh yeah.
Yeah, Yeah, I used it heavily, pretty much all day yesterday. We were out and about during the day, so essentially I had it like trying to think of how to break it down. My number one thing for this device is definitely the battery. It is a bigger device. That's my
Yeah.
biggest downside. It's a little awkward in the hand because it's big.
Hmm.
It's nice and round. I like the feel of it, but practicality wise, like I kind of while I'm driving, I kind of hold it in my palm between my hand and the steering wheel. It was very easy to do with the old Go Plus, but this is like I need a different method now. So, I usually
Well,
drive one handed anyway, so I'll just have this in my opposite hand, I guess. But
what I've done is I have like not the glove department, but like the center console or whatever. You just kind of have, or not center console. There's like like beneath the radio or whatever. You have like a little dash area where you can throw some crap in.
yeah,
I've been just throwing it in there, and I have it on both the stops, automatic stops, and automatic catches. But I prioritize spinning, and I let it catch everything else, and I'll click on anything that I want to check if it's shiny,
yeah,
and it does pretty well with that. In fact, I think the ability to do both. So like you can do the both with a gotcha, but I felt like if you were using it, if you were manually catching or if you were doing stops, there was like a little bit of a lag a lot of times. I don't notice that lag honestly when it comes. There is if you like go from app to another app, there is like a little bit of a lull in it trying to like reconnect and find it and like find the Pokemon, but the ability to just actually being able to have both on while spinning and mainly catching to do all of them at once, I think works a lot better. But I know a lot of people don't do that, but that's how I've always played.
yeah. There is a little glitch still, like when you have it connected and go open. If you change the settings of it, they might not carry over. So it literally takes like 5 seconds to connect to the thing. So
Yeah,
anytime I'm changing the settings, I'll like hit the button, disconnect it, and then I'll reconnect it real quick after I change the settings. So that's pretty easy to do.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, it works really well. I have some insane shiny luck
yeah,
yesterday.
yeah. So it's not just okay.
So yeah, I don't know what it
Uh,
is, but yeah, I've caught like what is it? I mean, I caught a coughing that day. That was what was that Tuesday when the Rhyhorn Spotlight Hour was happening.
hmm
Caught a coughing, a Rhyhorn, and then the next day two Zigzagoons. Pretty much, I think the only one I didn't catch on the plus was a Rhyhorn. But yeah, so it just seems like it's maybe just catching more, or maybe
I think that's kind of what I
yeah,
was thinking too. There might be a higher frequency, like chance of catching, not just a 50-50 or it's a little more than 50-50, obviously. Like a level one, you're going to probably catch regardless every
yeah,
single time, except on certain species like a Dragonite. But even then, I feel like maybe it's just me being lucky because, I've been having a lot more of that. But like, I feel like since it's catching more, you would think you'd be potentially getting more shinies.
yeah. And the Great Ball and Ultra Ball function does work. It wasn't really working for me the first day or two, but it is working nicely now. It does not auto catch in Greater Ultra Ball, so you do have to click the button physically. So that's what a lot of people,
That's gonna kill the battery.
yeah. But I mean, essentially, it's vibrating anyway. Like when it catches, it vibrates and lights up. When you press the button manually, it does the same thing, except it just keeps vibrating. So if you're like always got your finger on it and always clicking it, I mean, I think it would be the same. But the battery, though, I did all that. I was out and about yesterday, and then at work, I pretty much had Pokemon Go in my pocket and that going the whole time. And then I did not charge it overnight. I actually put it into sleep mode, so it was recording my sleep all night. And then out and about today during errands, I had it on catching, and it's still at the one yellow flash, which means it's just like barely drained. That's the notch down from full. So based on that, I mean, this thing could probably last like 3 days with decent use and recording your sleep. So
Yeah,
it's
I
definitely the
noticed the battery
upside
life
for it being
too.
bigger.
And the biggest thing with the gotcha was how faulty a lot of those were. Like the one I just bought, I'll have to check it again. But just before I got, like the day before I got the gotcha, right? I got this device, this new Plus. My previous gotcha I had for a month, shit out.
Yeah.
Like my previous gotcha that I had for years. It worked so well. I had it on at work. Then I looked down, it somehow popped out of the bracelet. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. Yeah. And because I knew the likelihood of how much those things die. And this one hadn't had it for years, and I played that thing a lot. I was like, if it hasn't done it yet, it's probably not going to do it for a while. And that's the one that went. And I was like, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah, I've tried two of those before, and they both just really crapped out just after a
Yeah.
month or two. They were pretty bad about that.
And now they're like $50 too, and they're not cheap. Like at this point, you might as well just get. I might as well have two of the new ones. I mean, I usually have two. I've almost always had two, just because I would always have a backup.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty solid, no doubt. The best one for Go playing. I did want to talk about sleep. So essentially, if you have this device, you can track your sleep with it. I want to kind of clear this up because I feel like they don't do a very good job of it. The Pokeball or Pokemon Plus Plus is a sleep device by itself. You do not need Pokemon Sleep at all to use it, the app. So essentially, if you hold the button down, you'll enter sleep mode. You'll get the blue button on your Go Plus, and that pretty much puts it in sleep mode. You're supposed to like hold the button down, it flashes blue in sleep mode. Sometimes the Pikachu will sing unless you got silent mode on. You can put the thing in silent mode, so that's nice. But yeah, you lay it on your bed and it records your sleep. When you wake up, you hit the button and it's recorded your sleep in the Plus Plus. You don't need your phone or anything. And then when you log into Pokemon Go, you can set the time that it gives you the rewards. So it's just like your weekly adventure sync or whatever. Every day you'll get a little Stardust and sticker and an item, I think. So pretty nice. It's just a daily little Stardust little gift there. And it's pretty easy. You just have to hold the button and keep it on your bed and then press the button when you wake up. So that's nice.
Yeah.
Now, Pokemon Sleep, there's a lot to this thing, and it is almost overwhelming. I was thinking that you just kind of sleep with your device and then you kind of can catch the Pokemon in there, level them up, but this is a fully fledged game on its own, and so much that it's almost like a turnoff for me. Like it's a lot. It's a lot. Anyway, yeah, I'll hit the button to record my sleep every night and sync it with Pokemon Go. I don't think I'm gonna get into Pokemon Sleep, but anyway, I guess with that, let's go ahead and jump into our main topic. Like we said, we're just gonna kind of break it down, kind of talk about our highlights, our lowlights, and what we saw. Then we'll get our special guest, who is Todd, who went with us. He went as just a normie, a spectator. He does collect a little bit, but he was pretty much like watching us do all the deals and like kind of shopping around. So we'll get his point of view. But then after that, we'll kind of deep dive into the more finer details and specific deals, and we'll go from there.
Yeah.
But yeah, going up those steps. First off, I guess, let's talk about the hotel and everything, kind of mention that. And yeah, we'll just kind of do quick highlights and then we'll get into the details later.
Yeah. Well, the hotel was honestly pretty great. How you could walk. It was connected. The hotel was connected to the convention center. That was really, really nice. We didn't have to walk far last year, but honestly, I mean, not only was the hotel nice, but the convenience was definitely there. Being able to be there within in under 10 minutes.
Yeah. And our hotel last year was nice.
Yes, it was.
You did have to straight up leave the hotel though and go to the convention center,
Hmm.
and it's literally like outside 2 blocks. So the hotel, and that was a hotel that was at the butt end of the convention center. So you walked in those doors and then walked all the way down the hallway to get to the actual spot. This one was pretty much up there by the room that the event was hosted in. So day two, it was like right there. You just walk across the bridge and you're there. Um, Day one, though, there was quite the line that we had to basically walk back to the butt end of the hallway.
Yeah, we'll
But
get into that for sure.
yeah, coming up the steps, first glance, I was thinking, I was going to say this show, as far as the room sections, you could see the concrete sections where they had it closed off last year. This is definitely, it was 2 sections, so it definitely was 2 times as big. But when I was going through my photos, I pulled up a photo from last year and just seeing, obviously, the convention was just one of the 2 rooms that it was in this year. But the space between the booths and the walkways was just insane. There was so much space last year. So not only was it
Yeah,
way smaller, but the spaces between the booths was much bigger. Because this year, it definitely
there definitely was
felt
some ass to
crammed.
ass moments. Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah. Essentially, you had 4 bodies width. So you had, like, if you had one person at one table, one person at another table, you basically had a walking lane for 2 more people. So 4 people wide. And there was so many people at the booth constantly, especially the first half of the first day, where you just pretty much had one walkway to get through and lots of shuffling around.
Yeah, I mean that's I kind of work in an environment like that at times, but not every day is like that, as you can imagine. I mean, to them too. But I know for me, I get like overstimulated.
Yeah.
Like I got ADHD, and like I get overstimulated. Like I mean, those guys. I mean, it's not easy work, and you're dealing with rejection. You're dealing with people taking offense to cards. I mean, there's a lot to it, and dealing with people. You're only going to give me $2 for my modern card that's everywhere.
Yeah.
I'm kind of poking fun a little bit, but like, and doing a little bit of exaggeration, but still.
Yeah. Yeah, it was definitely tight. So I was thinking this year was probably 3 times as big if you consider being double the room size and, the boost being closer.
Yeah.
But
I will say, there were noticeably less whatnot streamers, and there was less what appeared to be like up and coming markets or like, independent vendors, just like people just selling on their own. I don't remember what it was last year per table. Do you? It
I do
wasn't that
not.
they definitely increased it this year. It was as little as 2 tables for $500 to a dozen tables for like 2,500.
Yeah.
So I could have swore it was like I don't know the amount, but I could have swore it was less. So you can kind of think with the big stores.
I was
First
thinking it
off,
was like 200 or something if I had to
that's
say
kind of
something off the top of my head.
that's kind of what I was thinking too. Like I thought it was really really cheap last year. So you can imagine now that it was 500 for 2 tables, whereas you could have gotten 4 tables for less than $1,000. It makes it to where very difficult to make money. I'm interested the margins and like given like 70 anywhere from like 50 to 70% margins on some stuff. I'm very curious how much money some of these places made and how much is it for exposure as well, which is fine. It's just I'm just curious, like how much money that these folks made for a
Yeah.
few of them.
Yeah, and we'll talk about like what we saw there and everything too. But
Yeah, but I would say the increase was definitely there, and definitely interested where this can go in the coming years as well. And the music was better.
a little bit.
A little bit. I mean, it was a little bit better. I had some more fun. I had more fun with it. I'll just say that.
Yeah. But yeah, what else can we just kind of scratch the surface with?
We did see Lorcana.
Yeah, did see Lorcana,
Uh,
did see more noticeable faces.
yes. There was about maybe 5, 6 tables that had it. We talked more about Lorcana, and everybody seems to be pretty hyped on it. Obviously, the whole other issue that's kind of there's two now with the lawsuit with Upper Deck, which might actually delay the release date from what I'm hearing, but nobody knows for sure. It's all kind of rumors, and um, just the allocation issues. It's like like just the word going through is kind of interesting. So
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see, which I do want to touch on that too when we talk about Lorcana after our guest interview. But
yeah,
yeah, as far as the lawsuit goes, it appears to be both in Lorcana and Ryan Miller, one of the main designers, because I guess he had a stint with Upper
Upper
Deck.
Deck.
And they're saying he worked on this other game. I forgot what. I want to say iCore, some game like I've never heard of, and I'm sure most
But
people
the
haven't.
but the whole basis is gameplay rules, and you can't trademark gameplay rules.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's going to last, but it is interesting because if it were almost anything else, they could potentially have a case where a former employee takes, their instant, if you could provide evidence of quote unquote insider information and take that information to their company, you could. That's kind of where it gets gray area, and if they can prove enough of that, but ultimately it comes down to gameplay rules. And
Yeah.
that's why I think eventually it's going to get thrown out because of that very reason. But there's enough quote unquote meat on the bone that it could potentially cause issues at this point that we're just a month out from release.
Yeah. And honestly, we haven't seen much marketing. I think it's just
No,
because of, they know it's going to be a hit. It's just a matter of making sure they can get enough product.
I
So
think that's why they have in marketing is
yeah,
because of that issue.
I just think they're not worried about it. Like it's very
Yeah,
obvious it's going to be doing well.
yeah.
But
At this point, how many ILGSs are in on it? Like the hype is there. It's just a matter of release, and this could be a blessing in disguise. Just want to say real fast, this could be a blessing in disguise if there is a delay. I'll just say that.
yeah,
But nobody truly knows when the second wave is coming. There's a bunch of, I think, a lot of personal opinions, a lot of conjecture. You don't know. Yes, somebody says I work from the distributor, but we've learned from anecdotal experience that people like to talk out their ass.
yeah,
So, like, I wouldn't trust some Instagram posts. I don't care who they are.
yeah. Remind me when we talk about it too. I want to talk about the collectors versus the vendors because everyone who's a big collector and Pokemon that I've asked, they're real skeptical, but they also
Mm-hmm.
don't have the cards. And
Mm-hmm.
of course, everyone who has the cards is optimistic, but all the vendors, even if they don't have the promos, they're optimistic. So everybody involved with the product or who has handled the cards is very excited. And pretty much everyone else is like a skeptic. So we do want to talk about that. I'm gonna kind of make notes here so we are sure to like talk about all this.
Yeah.
But
And I'd say the other one was the signatures, getting the signatures and the aspect of we discussed last time we were unsure about getting the VIP because last year didn't seem worth it. It was worth it this year. It
yeah,
was worth it, and I would pay more next year to do it because we, the guest here, our friend here, he didn't have it, so we weren't going to let him, just kind of like peace. And we waited with him, and the line wasn't that bad, thankfully. But Everywhere else, if you were trying to get a signature, if you didn't have a VIP card, good luck. Good luck. The lines were atrocious if you didn't have that VIP card.
Yeah, and they'll probably be even worse next year.
Oh god, because people now know it's worth it, and which means we have to get it on next year. We can't wait till 6 weeks before. We need to get it the moment they announce, in
Yeah,
my opinion, because it was so fun. I am going to get more signatures. We'll kind of go more into that, but like, there's a few names who I kind of want to see, but if they continue getting big names, I mean, it's going to continue growing. And then a lot of my friends also, I showed all the stuff I got signed, and they're like, "That's actually pretty cool." They're like, "I was thinking about going, but I didn't have anybody to ask about going." So like, there's more. It's gained even more exposure this year with some of the big names that we're signing.
yeah. Yeah, any other quick points? I mean, we're already at the 40-minute mark. We both made
Um,
out pretty well. I guess we'll talk about that later.
I guess we'll just say some of the trophy or some of the grails we saw. We didn't see a whole lot of nines. I'll just say that,
Yeah, people
like
are.
ponchos, for example.
I feel like we saw more quality stuff, more high quality stuff. There were definitely a few binders floating around, but I feel like last year there was tons of binders, tons of singles, and tons of middle
No,
ground cards.
that's another thing. Modern was still king.
Yeah, we saw way less WotC. I feel like the
Yes.
high rollers last year had WotC boxes, WotC packs, and the high rollers this year had Japanese promos.
Yeah,
Like
I
that
agree.
that was the status symbol. Like WotC last year and then Japanese promos this year.
Yep.
So, but we'll deep dive into that. But guess we can go ahead and jump on into our little interview, see what he has to say
All
if you
right.
want. So, yeah, this here's a talk with Todd, who tagged along with us for both days of Collecticon. All right, so we have Todd with us now. What's going on, man?
Not much. Just chilling with you guys.
Yeah, so he tagged along on our little trip as a spectator. You do collect a little bit, but you're mostly just kind of going for the experience, right?
Yeah, it's mostly nothing graded. Pretty much everything that I have is just a, loose end binder,
Yeah,
except maybe a couple graded cards that was given to me by you.
yeah. Right on. So what'd you think of the show? What's the most standout impressive thing or least impressive thing that you found? Or did
Honestly,
you have fun for one?
yeah, of course. It was most definitely fun. I mean, you really got that Kansas City experience.
Get that KC experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That joke was a long going joke on our trip, but
Yeah.
it was true.
Every time we had some sort of like, wow, did that just happen? We just had to kind of just say that's the real Kansas City experience.
But yeah, I mean, overall, like, I didn't go with you guys last year, but by the way that you were saying, Nathan, just the last year's Collecticon was a lot smaller. There is definitely a lot to look at whenever you go. And me on the like collecting side, I never collected at all. So like me going there was only for getting signatures. And uh, overall, everybody that I've met there was super nice. You run into a couple know-it-alls, the people who have been doing it, you know, for years on end.
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, it was fantastic. The waiting in line part was, I wouldn't say it was annoying because I'm mostly on my feet like 8 hours a day anyways, so it's not that big of a deal. But
Yeah. That's one part I was worried about because, we, even in our last episode, we kind of talk like Collecticon, like what we do is the normal thing to do, like bring your cars and do the deals. But there are definitely more people there just to like buy things or get signatures than there are
definitely the signatures. Yeah.
Than collectors. Like, we're in the minority, so if anybody out there hears us talking about, 6 hours standing talking to vendors doing deals, that's not the normal experience.
No.
So
No.
that's one thing I was worried about with Todd coming along. It's like I knew that was going to be a lot of it, and was kind of worried about that. But you went off and saw some things and saw some panels and stuff, right?
Yeah. I got to see Jason Page, of course. That was on the second day because I didn't get to see him on the first day. We did listen to a little bit of the Ying Yang Twins.
Yeah.
What else?
That's one thing I was going to mention in our like talk after this. It's like the music aspect was much better. Not really as like the selection, like it is what it is, but
yeah,
the reason why it was so bad last year wasn't because it was Vanilla Ice. It's because you couldn't hear yourself think because everything was so small.
Yeah,
but,
the pretty much the music in the background while you guys was doing a little bit of wheeling and dealing, it was a lot softer.
Yeah, and it was a good time to go to the signature line during then because a lot of people were up front. Yeah. So we got front in line to we did Charles Martinet first, and it was like we were like front in line, just about.
Yeah.
And it was that line was crazy the second day. I didn't notice it.
Yeah, that was kind of crazy
before we went, but I guess we played it pretty perfectly.
Yeah. And then being nearly in front of Veronica Taylor because nobody was lined up there because she was taking a break. So as soon as we got done with Charles Martinet, we went straight to Veronica Taylor. So we got lucky about not having to wait in line. Really too bad for those two people because it was really bad first thing in the morning when we walked in.
Yeah. The one thing that I will say about Veronica Taylor, like for anybody who listens to this and is going to be going to Collecticon, her line wait is going to be long. You're going to be standing there for a long time. But when you get up to her, you will understand, and it's very worth the wait. Because she'll talk to you for probably about 5 or so minutes. Yeah. And that's, per person. I mean, when me and Nathan was waiting in line, we were both like, oh, this is taking a very long time. And
yeah, we were kind of joking like, man, she takes her sweet time, doesn't she?
Yeah.
But then it was worth it, though.
Definitely worth it. And
yeah, she was asking, like, she saw my shirt, and she was like, is that your podcast? And, like, she seemed, it was a genuine interest in who she was talking to. It didn't seem like it was forced, just, like, small talk. It was real, like, the mother hen vibes, or, like, the neighborhood mom that everybody goes to chill at her house, that kid. That's just kind of what it felt like to me.
Yeah, she just seemed very nurturing. Of course, I don't know what it was. Like, well, of course, that day marked the 1 year of my, dad's passing. And, like, right when I got up to her, she gave me, like, the biggest hug. And it just felt like, I don't know. It's hard to explain.
Yeah.
It's really weird. Like, just seemed like one problem after another like melted away.
She's got the power of the heels.
Yeah, strong mana. So
she's a good support character.
Yeah. And I actually watched a little bit of the original series, and like you can kind of hear her voice in Ash, but like at the same time, she didn't really do the Ash voice. And I wonder if that has something to do with the strike that's going on. I don't know if she's a part of that or not, but like you're not supposed to like talk about the shows or the movies you're in at all.
Yeah.
Like if you're involved with that. And I did not know that until like the next day. And I wonder if that's what was kind of going on with her, why she didn't do it. I'm not sure if she's in that or not, but
she had a post on Instagram though that I sent Todd, like where she said she was going to be in Kansas City. and to come see her at her booth and whatnot. And she did the whole voice for that, though.
Oh, she did. Okay.
So
Yeah, and she on the panel too. She was doing some of her voice because I went to go see that too while you guys were dealing.
yeah. So yeah, she was definitely the best for sure. Sean was really good too, but you could tell he was
Antsy.
like, yeah, he wanted to. You could tell he like made sure to try to talk, but you could tell he was also very aware that he had the longest line.
And he had the longest line all weekend.
Yeah.
Like non-stop. Whenever we first got there, his line stretched the entirety of the distance that they gave between the signing table and the first booth, and it went beyond that to like 3 vendors deep.
Yeah. And
That's how.
and it zigzagged too.
And it zigzagged. So like, yeah, like maximizing the people per square foot possibility. Like, wow. Like, I imagine he's going to come back next year simply because of how much money he made.
Me, I think if there's one thing that I can change about Collecticon is me getting a VIP pass.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're getting signatures, it is pretty crucial to get that and save a little bit of time.
Yeah.
On top of that, you get what did you guys get for getting the VIP? Is that you guys got a Collecticon shirt? Is that correct?
Yeah, it's somewhere.
Pretty much just like a shirt and a little badge, but the badge is a cool keepsake.
Yeah, the badge
with
is
the
pretty
lanyard.
cool. Yeah, the badge I'm going to keep forever because it's really really neat. But you also were able to cut through in line.
Yeah.
And it wasn't very. It didn't take long. Well, what do you think we were in line for? Like 30 minutes, maybe.
Yeah, but that was mostly just waiting on him to get there because he wasn't there for a while because we were in the first group. But
I meant like a line to get into the actual show.
Oh yeah, so like
yeah,
I'm pretty sure there was people asking like if you had VIP, go ahead.
There
so
were,
we
there
could
were,
have, went in early there.
Yeah,
but,
you get in 30 minutes early.
But the line wasn't too bad though.
Well, it really sucked. Like the first day when you guys went with me, you guys ended up having to wait.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys could have went on ahead, but
it ended up being fine this year. Like we didn't miss anything, so there really wasn't any issue in my opinion. But yeah, next year I think it's gonna be worse. So it's one of those things where it's like next year have to have the VIP. Like what Nathan and I were saying, we debated if it was even worth it this year. Because last year we didn't see what incentive it was. There wasn't really any long lines for signatures. It wasn't anywhere near as busy last year. So this year, though, it showed there was dividends. Just not having to wait potential extra several hours in line is worth paying the extra $70. But I expect next year they're going to raise it to 125 to 150. That's my guess.
Yeah. A lot more people will be thinking the same thing.
It was 125 last year, and we're like, and they lowered it to 100, and I think they sold out of the VIP.
They did.
And
1 week before.
So 1 week before, so you had plenty of time after 1 week before. That's not going to be the case next year.
Yeah. I'll most definitely, like, as soon as those tickets go live, I'm gonna definitely get a VIP pass for next year.
I'm not even going to wait. Like I think they did end up announcing a couple more people after they originally announced the lineup for who was going to be there. I don't think the voice of like the Toju or Shoju or whatever from Demon Slayer, but that person I'm pretty sure was in Long Beach as well.
Yeah.
So like that's one of Demon Slayer if you're like around anywhere from like 12 to like 25. That's your. I mean, it is an amazing show. It is. It's one of the best animes I've ever seen. But if that's like your show, that's like your Naruto. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So if he's going to be there, plus Sabat, plus Schimmel, this is all speculation, but it's also grounded in reality. It's one of those things where I think it's going to be even crazier because of that.
Yeah. I think so. Like there's a couple regrets that I have.
Yeah.
From going to Collecticon. I did not have anything for Bryce Peppenbrook to sign, who is the voice of Eren Yeager, Kirito. Like, he was only there on Sunday. So, like, I did probably have a little bit of time to try to find something, but like I just didn't make it a priority.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My second thing is that we Swartz Steins Gate. It was cool. It was cool to open. I'll say that. But like, if you get a signature card, it's definitely like worth it. Which I did not get any signature cards in the Schwartz Steins Gate box. I
Yeah, it's tough. It was cool. Yeah, like that was my first opening of it too. It's definitely cool,
Yeah.
and just seeing the card quality of that stuff. I mean, it's really nice. It was cool to
yeah
Yeah, I thought.
see.
The foil was pretty cool. I just thought some of the art was like they just took a snapshot from the show.
Yeah.
yeah yes
That's kind of with some of the issues I had with it, and I kind of like after I saw that I kind of like had doubts about getting the Avatar Last Airbender White Schwartz. Um, it was just like the chance of me pulling one of the cards I really want is probably slim to none.
Mm-hmm.
yeah
Man, I probably would have bought from a place we'll kind of talk about in a little bit, which is Pokemon Collectibles, because I believe he just pulled from the box itself, and they were all on the shelves. But another thing is, you don't know, especially some of these more sketchy vendors. I shouldn't say sketchy, but ones you may not trust. For all we know, they opened a bunch, pulled the card, and all the boxes they have on sale are the ones after the main chase card was pulled, and we would never know.
Mm-hmm.
yeah
Yep, for sure. Got to be careful with that, especially buying those online.
Mm-hmm.
But
I was another thing that's really weird is the pricing on signatures. Like the bigger people seem to be a little cheaper.
Which is weird.
Yeah, like we went to what's his name, Charles.
Martinet,
Yeah, Charles Martinet. I think for just like how much was it for a signature and a picture, Nate?
60.
60?
it was like,
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's 100 for a picture and a
yeah,
signature.
well,
Okay,
and
yeah, just
it was like 60 for a signature, but because I had him sign a card, the lady said he had something with PSA, and it was $100 to get the card signed because I guess they just trying to limit the actual things that can be graded with his signature on it or something.
For
So
scarcity.
yeah, it's pretty pricey.
yeah. So like I paid $60 for his signature, which I was okay with. And then I went to Terra Strong. I told you guys multiple times that day. I was like, man, her just a signature is $80, and I'm like, good God,
Trying to buy a
that's
new Louis purse or something.
yeah. Like I understand. I mean, she is probably like one of my favorite like uh cartoon voice actors. She does Timmy Turner,
Yeah.
uh, Ben 10, Bubbles, Raven. But I don't know. It's just something about that like childhood nostalgia voice. Just kind of.
Yeah, she does a lot of like middle ground voices. Like none of the voices are super huge, but like she does a lot of them that are very
Yeah.
recognizable.
She has a
Yeah,
lot of depth, but it didn't make sense how she could be the most. And then you have Sean Schimmel, who was arguably the biggest person there that day. Him or maybe Charles Martinet, depending on your opinion. But, I would say Sean Schimmel, but he was only $40.
Yeah.
And I
yeah,
thought, like, whenever they told me, he was like, because we kind of asked somebody in the Veronica Taylor line, and we were kind of curious. And then I went up and I was like, I would like two things signed. And they're like, that'd be $80. I was like, really? That's it? I mean, that's actually not bad at all. Like, I wish I would have had a third thing to sign and just kind of push it to see if I'm sure they would have said yes.
Yeah.
Like because it's money to him. So unless you have like say like 20 things, he probably said no. If you got like three things, that's probably fine. Like a lot of places I've heard for like comic book writers, they say no more than five things or no more than three things. So I imagine it'd be okay with them too.
yeah. Like I think another person who was really really cool too. Her name's Erica Schroeder. She does the voice actor of Nurse Joy, Evie, Sylveon, Flareon,
Mm-hmm.
May Valentine, Dark Magician Girl. Of course, I think her biggest role is Monkey D. Luffy from
Mm-hmm.
One Piece. But like she was, the girl that was sitting right next to her was like super nice. She, I got the photo. Well, I gave her my phone to take, pictures, and she just took a bunch of random pictures, which was hilarious to me. Like, I
Just
don't know if
filled up
anybody
the
else would
thing.
be. Yeah, she, like, while I was waiting in line, she just pretty much did a photo shoot of me, which was. I mean, I don't think I'm very handsome to look at, but
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
yeah, Erica was really super nice, professional. She, when she came up to me, she's like, for the photo, she's like, you mind if I put my hand right there? She asked me, which was, I don't mind, like, where you put your hand,
Go
but
ahead
still,
and touch
me.
me.
As long as you hold on to my butt, I think I'll be okay. No, but she, like, her signature on Nathan's, recap video of Collecticon, it shows it in that video, but her signature is probably one of my favorites.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's got the coolest for sure.
Yeah, it's very flowing, and how she signed it on the slab too is kind of perfect. It was very symmetrical. And then it's the way it flows. I don't know. It's just aesthetically very pleasing.
Yes, it's definitely probably one of my favorite ones. I like Sean Schimmel's
Yep.
signature too on my
Mhm.
on my box that I had Nathan get signed for me, so that way I didn't have to wait in line because they got in early. That's the first thing that they did on the second day.
Yeah.
Yeah. By the time, if you would have tried to get in that line, you would have been like 80 people deep, and you would have been there for 3 hours.
Yeah, so it was definitely like I didn't get to meet Sean Schimmels, which I'm not too upset about because I mean I only wanted the signature
Yeah.
my Goku figure box, so I just
Yeah, he's pretty cool, but definitely not as cool as Veronica Taylor. And like I said, you could tell he was trying to be aware of the line and stuff, not take too much time. So,
I will say with this, I just kind of want to say this real fast for any people that are obsessed with the Dragon Ball franchise as I am. One, I told him about my Goku hack tattoo, and he.
I forgot about that.
He did not. He did not ask to see it though.
I felt like he was impressed, but maybe that's just my opinion on that. And then the next thing he said is what. So it was kind of last minute. I kind of waited till like a week and a half before to buy anything for things to be signed. I ended up buying some old school cards from the original Dragon Ball Z, and he signed that with a blue marker. It was like the full art training card, which is great. Or not training card, but full art like Goku card, just regular Goku. And then he also signed my VHS. So as I mentioned before, I have like pretty much the entire series minus like 8 movies of the entire Dragon Ball Z series. And whenever I showed him the VHS I brought, which was the Super Saiyan Goku VHS. So for those unfamiliar, Goku Super Saiyan on the front, it's like shortly after he just turned Super Saiyan. It's this scene where like Frieza shoots a bunch of stuff at him and like there's smoke around him and it's like he's undeterred. Anyways, he was telling us this was like the second or third voice acting job or not job, but like show he ever did with him. And he said he had no idea Goku was about to turn Super Saiyan when he found out like that day.
Yeah, he said.
And I
think
thought
he
that was
said
pretty
like, "What's
interesting.
funny is I didn't even know we were doing it that day," or he said something along those lines.
Yeah.
So pretty cool little insight there.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like he was like trying to, and that's why next year I'm going to be bringing one that has both Goku and Vegeta on it, and hopefully Sabat's there, and I'm going to have them both sign that one.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah.
Another cool thing too was Jason Page. I also got his signature as well.
Yeah.
But when me and Nathan was standing in front there while he was, singing the main theme to Pokemon, he, got done. He started throwing his playing cards out into the crowd. Like, he threw one directly at me, and then it was pretty high in the air, and I'm 6'2". So like I hit it with my hand, and then I have no idea to this day how it happened, but like I came down with my arm and caught it with my armpit. Like
I
don't
remember
know.
seeing that one in the air too, and it turned to where the thin side was like in my sight, and I lost it. Like they're really hard to see when they got flat. So
Yeah.
I thought I was about to get hit in the face with it or something. I like saw it kind of come towards me, and I just like closed my eyes. But yeah, he's kind of a meme of these shows. But like last year, we didn't care to go see him. But yeah, he was pretty cool, and you got to give him props. He's got the drive. You got to kind of have it to keep going like he does.
Well,
he
and
has like a little spunky personality. He's pretty funny.
yeah, my guess is this is basically, he might have side things he occasionally does for a little bit of money, but my guess is this is basically his like main source of income.
Yeah,
Going.
The limelight too.
Yeah, like he probably. I don't know how much they actually make. You know, it depends on how many signatures, and eventually he's going to have signed so much stuff. It's going to be like diminishing returns on a few of these shows. I personally feel like. But I mean, if you just assume that he makes over 10 grand a show, I mean, you just do the math.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things, and we actually ran into him as we were walking into the convention too.
Yeah, that was on the second day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he of course like had to say Pokemon, and then he looked to see who would like turn around. But
yeah, we chit chat. He seemed pretty down to earth, but obviously his main calling card is being the voice of that. So, but he's upbeat about it. I don't think he's a drug addict or anything, So.
When I met him to get a signature, he was really super nice.
Yeah.
I'm not really 100% sure who the girl was with him. Probably his wife or maybe manager or something like that. But yeah, he was really down to earth, super nice guy. So whenever we was after we got done with breakfast and everything like that, we had to go to Nathan's vehicle, put everything in the in his Jeep. We came back and we was heading to Collecticon, and then Nathan had to stop at the desk. While he stopped at the desk, me and Phillip's like standing by the bar, and then I looked down at the seats in front of us. I was like, dude, there's Sean Gemmels.
Yeah, it was cool. Like they all, kind of hang out in the lobby in the morning and night too, like everybody else. And yeah, pretty cool to see him.
I was gonna ask him to scream right there in the middle of the hotel.
Well,
this is what it means to go further beyond.
Any other things that you picked up at the show you want to talk about?
I think that's all I picked up. I picked up that figure. I got a couple, I got probably about 3 or 4 signatures. I think, there's not just all cards there. They got, they had a really cool section of old school games. Well, from old school to like newer stuff like Switch, PlayStation, all the way down to like Sega Genesis, Game Gears, handheld, a bunch of other handheld games too, which was really nice.
Yeah.
I think they were selling a Super Nintendo there for like 119, like a complete, Super Nintendo. That's a pretty decent price, but I wouldn't recommend buying anything at the convention when you can just,
Yeah, if you know what you want signed, try to get it beforehand. And it is, a place to spend money. You're going to see a lot of things that you want. So you just got to really be cautious of that.
Yeah.
You might buy something and then find something 10 feet away from you like more. It's very much one of those places. You want to be sure to see as much as you can before you buy something. So.
Yeah. I think next year I'm going to try to be a little bit more prepared. I'm going to save up a little more money for next year. I'm going to get a blank binder, so that way whenever I go there and I'm just going to buy next year. So I'm going to try to buy some loose cards, not graded, and just, try to fill up that binder as much as I can. Just go for the, between the $10 to $40, $50 cards.
Yep, for sure. I'll be not selling as much next year, I don't think, unless I can depart from my gold stars or something. But yeah, I'm sure we'll talk about that in the future. But
Yeah.
guess we'll kind of wrap it up there with Todd, though, and hopefully you can go with us next year. Maybe we'll have some more people to tag along, and
Yeah.
should be a good time.
Yeah, and to say having a few more people would be pretty cool too, to a certain extent. And then you have like 8 people becomes kind of quite the hassle. But I think like 4 or 5 would be pretty good.
Yeah,
We gotta
could
check
split
out
up in a
Q30.
couple groups or something.
We gotta
Yeah.
check out Q39 next year.
Yeah, it will have to do reservations a week or so in advance at like 7:30 or something.
Yeah.
Because we had Joe's barbecue. Okay, if you're a big fan of Casey barbecue, you're probably about to get peeved by what I'm about to say. So with Joe's last year, I usually go with burnt ends or something like that. I got like the burnt end meal, and they were straight up cold. Like, I know they were busy, but it was also during a busy time, and they were cold, and that was very disappointing. People say it's the best barbecue in the state, and I disagree, being a St. Louis guy. But I wanted to try to have an open mind, and it was straight up cold, so it was frustrating. And I got the burnt end sandwich at Gates, and it was too much sauce.
They were pretty saucy.
Yeah,
I like
and it
the
was
sauce,
like,
though.
well, once the bread was gone and it was just the meat, the sauce was too much.
Yeah.
So it was too much. Like, I couldn't even eat it. Like, it was too rich.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I liked them both, but by that point, I'm so hungry. Like,
Yeah.
a sandwich I find on the street would be
I think
the
at
best
that
thing
point,
ever.
at that point we hadn't eaten in, what was it, like eight or so hours?
I think it was like 7-ish, and we last ate at, it was like 9:30. So yeah, 10 hours.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's what it was.
It was like 10 or 11 hours. Yeah, it was quite a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it should be fun next year, and if you guys haven't went to one, have to check it out. But anyway, Todd, thanks for joining us, telling us about your experience.
Oh yeah, anytime.
So
I appreciate you're our first guest on the show, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Hey.
So if you guys want to hear a little more about the show as far as the card deals and negotiations went, be sure to stick around because we're going to jump into that now. But for Todd, we'll catch you later.
All right. So you.
Love having you. Have a good one.
You too, Phillip. See ya.
All right, so that was our interview with Todd. Like we said, his first experience. Sounds like he had quite a bit of fun there. But
Yeah.
Now let's get to talking about more of the deals and show aspect from our point of view. So, yeah, we talked about our goals already. We kind of covered the signatures with Todd. So, yeah, I guess we'll break down how effective were you on your goals and selling and buying what you needed?
So I did pretty well. Let's see. I think my total percentage, where was it? Was 67.2% with everything that includes the trade and like the cash, which the way I see it is this stuff was, if I were to sell in addition to my Lorcan, it would put me over the tax threshold. So the way I see it, I gained about 3.5% or so more doing it this way than trying to sell it on my own. So overall, I felt good. Looking back, there was a deal in particular with Master Set Games. I wonder if I could have gotten another 30 to 40 bucks, to be honest with you. But that was all, because it was the first one we did. We just walked in. I saw him and I recognized him, and I was like, I'm pretty sure, those guys are pretty big, so I'm sure he'll probably be willing to buy some of my stuff. And there was some stuff we couldn't agree on, like the AR4, the Arceus, but he took a lot of my bulk. Some of it was more than I evaluated at, but some of it was less. And I wonder, I didn't do any, like, hey, like he said, what was it? Like, it was 270.
Was he scared of the lack of sales on the Arceus? Or what?
Yeah, and I didn't find out until later. It would have been the next day. So there was 3 sales I saw that made it a solid 450. However, I've checked like 4 days before we went to KC. So by the time that weekend hit, some of the other sales I wasn't paying attention, but they must have been over 90 days. So they
Yeah.
fell off the recents. And I'm like, oh man. Like I found that out when we were doing the deal. So that had to I immediately had to shift negotiations, but we'll go into that one a little bit later. But anyways, I just wonder if I could have gotten our like 20, 30, $40. But because, I was still kind of amped up from getting there. I was still kind of settling my bearings, and I didn't really haggle too much. But I wonder if I could have gotten there 20, $30. But overall, the value was solid. It's just like, I
Yeah.
wasn't thinking 100% fluid, and that's, But other than that, it's not like it wasn't like a huge loss, right? It was the way I see it, was my bulk. Like the part of it was also like, oh, thank you, you're buying my bulk, my bulk slabs. So there was a little bit of like, wow, he's actually buying this, and like also just being kind of not ready mentally. But
Yeah. I kind of went in. I probably could have done a little better looking around, but
yeah,
I kind of had my mind set on the percentages and made that spreadsheet, which I did a video on. And pretty much, if anyone was like kind of close to there, I figured it would be, easy just to go for it. And even doing that, the deals went into the second day. So it does take a long time. Sometimes the time aspect is a little better for me. So as long as they were close, I kind of made some deals. But yeah, Master Set was really one of my bigger ones. He did take a lot of the mid-level stuff that he could get rid of on Whatnot. And then he bought a couple of the Charizards. He was the guy who actually bought my Shadowless Charizard 6. He was looking at it and think he's going to regrade it with CGC because it did look pretty good. But yeah, other than that, Combi Collectibles bought a nice little chunk. He was kind of my first deal. So he had a good table there. But yeah, everyone else, I mean, there's a few others. The table around Master Set games, like I think I said, like Eva's Binder and Ron G Cards was around that area. Eva bought my stamp box, Pikachu and Cramorant in a 9. And it did pretty well with those. So I kind of paid full market for Pikachu 10 there at the show. Got one for $750. I think they're selling like right at like $680 to $700. So I mean, with all the sales tax, when I purchased through eBay here in Missouri, I mean, I pretty much got it for about the same price, but ended up getting a pretty good deal on the Cramorant. So that worked out well. But yeah, I feel like I was pretty mellow compared to what I could be. Like I sold a lot. I did sell the Grand Party 9, which I wasn't too happy about because there wasn't a 10 there at the show that I could deal with. But had enough cash where I could come home and then buy one online, which is actually getting shipped out today.
Hey.
I did a private buy from Black Belt TCG. I think his name is TCG. He's a very popular eBay guy. You guys have seen him if you've been around, but he's a huge eBay store. Black Belt 171 is his name. So yeah, he's kind of one of those guys, strictly all business, no BS, kind of real dry in the conversation. So it's kind of nerve-wracking a little bit to do a private deal, but yeah, he's a very reputable guy and I trust him, and we went all weekend without talking after I had given him the money because I understood it was the weekend. And then he messaged me back this morning, said, do you want a signature on your package or not? So, we both know each other and things should go pretty smoothly.
Yeah, I was going to say, I also sold to Combi Collectibles. He bought a lot of my raw cards. Obviously, some of them I knew was basically bulk, but whatever. I figured it's cards I didn't really want. So even if it was just like a couple bucks I got for it, it's a couple bucks I didn't have. He gave me a pretty good deal on a few of my slabs, like my first edition Porygon, Delivery Chew, and there was a bunch of raw cards. Then he also bought whatever bulk slabs I had left that Master Set Games didn't buy. So again, this was a lot of bulk that I sold, and level X's I didn't really care for. There's ultimately a few I kept, and there's some level X's I'll just go ahead and buy later. I'd rather just have the cash to be able to go towards a Grail. But he did pretty well. The guy I dealt with was very, very nice. It was honestly a pretty good situation, I felt like, overall, especially because I did shop around. I think he ended up being the fourth table I hit before, like, I hit Master of the Games was like one of the first ones, and there's like two or three after that. And I turned down because I didn't like the offer. And then I went to him, and what he gave me was like $60 more than the next best person
Yeah.
at Homie Collectible. So obviously, as soon as he told me the value, I was like, that's pretty close to what I'm wanting, near exact. Yep, here you go. Yeah, and he had some good stuff too. I bought some singles, and honestly, he's somebody who I kept the card for because I'm going to remember him. And then there was a deal with Infected Games. They did pretty good with my slabs on day one. They ended up getting 70%. I sold my Arceus Stream Shine collection and first edition PSA Polytoad to them, and they gave me about 70%, which was pretty solid. But then the next day I went back trying to sell my AR for Arceus, and they didn't want to give me more than like $100, and I was like, yeah. In addition to
Yeah.
that, I also had raw cards. It was Shining, Magikarp, and Ho-Oh, both lightly played. Well, the Shiny Carp is lightly played in near mint, like kind of borderline, and the Ho-Oh was near mint. And they were trying to give me, they were using eBay sales on raw cards, which I didn't like. I kind of already knew we weren't going to come to a deal once they said that that's how they were going to do it. And like, I didn't get angry at him when he told me what he said it was worth, like the Ho-Oh. He was trying to say it was like $70, the near mint. And
Yeah.
I'm like, no, 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 no. He was like, well, the last like one sold for like $65. And I was like, well, I know that's what eBay says, but I don't want you to sit there and say that that's what it's worth when everybody knows raw cards you get from TCG Player, and it's the best place to show the market price. eBay doesn't do that well when it comes to raw cards. Not many people buy raw cards from eBay unless they're more niche. And like, he kind of like got like, oh man, because I think he knew we were there by then, and I kind of was like very assertive. Like
Yeah.
there was no like in my voice, there was no room for like negotiation. It was very assertive, very point. It was, I mean, the other guy that was pretty cool with me yesterday, he was there. He was kind of had to play out, but like I think he got a little bit like antsy, like okay, here we go.
Yeah.
But
I like doing eBay like for my singles, but I make sure there's like plenty of pictures. And
mhm.
I don't know, I think it'd be okay for me if a vendor was doing that, if it were like a pricey card. But the problem is at a show is it just takes way too much time. Like you literally have to like scan, you have to find a card that has decent pictures on eBay for one, which is challenging in itself.
Yeah.
Then you have to compare like every aspect of the card and then come up with a price. Just takes way too long at the show. So
Yeah, that's why TCG Player makes sense because you evaluate the card. You think it's slightly played near mint. Okay. Look at recent solds, what they're saying. Okay, I think it's kind of in between here. This is what I think the market price is. Boom, it takes like 2 minutes.
yeah,
But yeah, anyways, I didn't sell it there. I kept on going. Like I shopped around again. And eventually I ended up with at Pokemart Collectibles, which I've actually bought before. And it was some I forget what it was. It was like a Feraligatr, I think, and something else. And the condition matched perfectly. Everything did. And I was telling the guy there that I assumed he was the owner, and he was like very appreciative. And then he was willing to buy the Arceus Air 4. That's when I found out the card was basically 400. There was only one sale in the last 90 days. I evaluated at 450. He evaluated at 400. It was that and the Shiny Carp and the Near Mint Ho-Oh. About 490 was what I was trying to get because I was going to squeeze every penny. But when I found out, like the first two listings I had to evaluate the card's worth were no longer on eBay just to support my case, and it was only 400. Well, I had to shift everything down about $40, and that's exactly how much it was. And then getting up, squeeze every dollar for 385 in cash.
So
plus two
you
Neiman
thought for
cards.
that $5 when I was there. It's like, all right.
Yeah, he was a little annoyed, and I get it. I get it. You know, like I was being very, I wouldn't say difficult, but like I was unrelenting is how I would say. Um, and he was pretty cool with it, but I understand he was frustrated. And I think he was doing that with me because I said I bought from him before, and I have. And I looked to see what he had on his store, his eBay store, and his TCG player, and he had a lot of WotC on the TCG player, like a lot of cards I actually needed too. So it's definitely a place I'm going to be going through in the future. So you know what? I know you can't say this for every single person that you would have this deal with. Like you know, you're trying to haggle for someone to get the best money, but that service and that deal made me want to shop from him again because I
Mm-hmm.
appreciate it because he gave it the value that it was worth, and I understand he has to make money, but ultimately he was able to work with me, and I remember that. And because of that, not only did I join his Discord, but like I said, I followed him on Instagram. I mean, I did everything. Like I am going to buy from him again. So because he did that, he's going to get more money from me down the road. But you can't always guarantee that with a lot of people. But with me, I did. And I think he kind of got that vibe too. So
Yeah. Yep. It was cool though doing the deals. The one I fought with most was I had day 2, the Grand Party 9, and then the other Charizards. I probably should have shopped around for that one. Grand Party I valued at around 6 to 7 in a 9. And then the other Charizards at about like 100 each. There was 3 Charizards, so really total value wise, I was probably looking at like $1,000. And then we ended up settling at 900, so it wasn't too bad. Pretty good value there. The only thing that bugged me is that the Grand Party was in there. Like I would have no problem with the Evolution Zards at that price, but he didn't really want to pick those up unless the Grand Party was included because he gets some trade or sell fodder and then something nice in return as well. But overall, the other deals, especially with Master Set Games, he kind of went up a little bit on his 70% mark. I think he gave me like 80 or 85 for some of the couple big cards that he picked up that he was going to regrade and do other stuff with, so that was nice. But yeah, I was happy to get it done, happy to secure this Grand Party this week. And when that comes in the mail, I'm going to chill out for a little bit, see what Lorcana does. Still eyeing the Mimikyu and Mario Pikachu. So we'll see what that does. But yeah, probably going to wait for a Lorcana sale before I move on those. We'll see how
yeah.
it goes.
And speaking of, we mentioned before, but we did see several tables with Lorcana. A lot of those tables, though, did have them slightly above market with what they're going on eBay. They had basically the prices from like, I don't know, early May maybe, late April, early May were kind of the prices on them, like 1,500 for a PSA 9 Mickey. I saw, for example, like 3K for a Hook and a Captain Hook and the Robin Hood. So I think that kind of indicates also some of what level of money they have in those things as well. I don't know if they graded those cards themselves or what. But so what I kind of gathered from there is they kind of have more in it than what the market value indicates. Yeah, the best offer I got, and I was like, no, was like 750 on my Mickey 9. I'm like, no. I
Yeah.
would want 80% value, and nobody was going to give that to me. And I'll just hold on to it. It's not worth taking that huge of a loss on it.
Yeah. Yeah, it was nice to see the sets. Someone had a complete set there of the promo set of 6, not even graded, just
Yep.
chilling in the sleeves. So it was cool to see. Even if people didn't even make a sale on them. You know, they're out there for people to look at now. So people got to see them in person. There's a lot of big names floating around. Gym Mint Pokemon was lurking around both days. Radar was there. So, you know, Gym Mint Pokemon especially, I mean, that's probably, you know, top 3, top 5 for sure, but probably top 3 name in the hobby as far as influence and just being here for so long and his collection. He hasn't really been on the Lorcana bandwagon, so even if someone like him, you know, looks at it and like, man, these are really nice, you know, that's enough to get a little something going. And I'm sure they're going to be at all these shows this year, especially next year. So it'll get some attraction for sure.
Yeah, and those type of people not necessarily being in on them yet isn't really a surprise to me because their focus is definitely and obviously Pokemon, like
Yeah.
exorbitantly so. So just because those people are in it doesn't mean that it still isn't a good item. It just means they don't want to spend money, especially with the prices they are now, on things that they really don't care to collect.
Yeah. That's
Like
kind
if
of
you
with
look
me.
at,
Like, I like them, but ultimately I'm going to sell them for Pokemon.
yeah, I mean,
So,
but you know, with Jim and Pokemon, his most of his stuff is like WotC, like stuff that's tied to nostalgia. Um, and if you kind of look at that, well, he probably wouldn't be very interested in some of these modern cards in a new TCG that has no nostalgia tied to it all. It's
no.
really going to be interesting to who of these YouTubers are going to buy into the cards. That's kind of what I'm most curious about, because if they haven't already, the individuals that could and obviously could cause an increase is a bunch of these YouTubers going in on these cards.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. But does Gym and Pokemon need more nostalgia when you have literally every WotC card in a tin, though?
Yeah, see that. Well, that's exactly my point. Like,
He's wanting to branch out. I know he's been getting into some Japanese, so
yeah, I mean that's not really like Japanese exclusive promos. I just feel like that's obviously the next thing to go for, and I'm sure he has most of those cards in a tin, like most of the ponchos. I'm sure too, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's going for some of the trophies too, if he hasn't already.
yeah.
So
Yeah, I did want to mention the WotC, you know, hype versus the promo hype. I think I mentioned this to you already, but I remember last year, you know, we were still riding the wave. No doubt. Things were chilling out a little bit, but the high rollers was definitely still the people who had like WotC boxes or WotC sealed. And there's people there selling packs. There's people there selling boxes. Lots of high grade stuff. Heritage Auctions was there showing off a PSA 10 Charizard. So, you know, the high value stuff was still WotC, and that was, you know, kind of what you showed off to get the clout. This year was undoubtedly the Japanese promos, especially given the market. It seems like every big table had like a little section for promos. One of the guys over by Master Set Games, he's got a pretty big following on TikTok, but I didn't recognize the guy. He's a guy sitting down off to the side when we were talking to Radar.
yeah,
But I ended up buying my Pikachu stamp box from him. He's a really cool guy, but yeah, he had a lot of them. He had like an entire
yeah, he
poncho
did.
set, all Gym Mint 10 that he was only looking to sell as a set. So, I mean, he had a
He
lot.
had. I say he had two tens of the Mario's. I know he had at least one ten Luigi. He might have had two. Yeah, he had a lot of high value cards, but that was another thing. We didn't see hardly any nines for any of these ponchos. There was a few raw Mario Pikachu's and Luigi Pikachu's. Everybody was asking way too much for them. Like Eva's binder, she had a Mario Pikachu that she got on the first day or early morning day two for like 2,500 lightly played. Like, no, thank you. Like, some people, it's almost like they're just kind of throwing a dart at like a potential price and just hoping somebody's going to pay for it. There was another guy that had Luigi. It was PSA 8, maybe PSA 9. Somebody was asking 2,400 for a Luigi Pikachu, and just last night, two PSA 10 Luigi sold for just over 4K.
Yeah.
Like, nuh-uh. Like they were hoping somebody would bite when the market was still kind of on this border of like, is it still high prices? Is it kind of coming down a little bit, leveling out? And obviously those 10s are higher than they were 6 months ago, but I mean, they're down substantially. And obviously we saw one Mario 9 sold for under 3K. And then I actually haven't looked at it in the last couple of days, but there was a Mario 9 that somebody sent a best offer on that for 2,700, or like, and nobody bought it.
Yeah.
What does that tell you?
Yeah, it was an interesting time. Like, of course, June just a month before in May, we just saw that insane increase where all these promos like 4x'd in like literally a week. So it's pretty insane. I think these cards are on a lot of people's lists.
Yep.
And I think that little panic kind of set in when people saw them trickling up. Because I remember us saying on one of our episodes at the beginning of the year how steady these cards were. And I remember saying like they're slowly going up. It was ever so slowly, but we saw them trickle up, even from the beginning of the year. So I think a lot more people caught on to that. A lot of people had these on their list, and it was just kind of a snowball effect. People kind of got scared that, they're not going to ever own one again. So we kind of saw that. Things are settling down pretty heavily now. The Festa Pikachu, I think, is still over, like, it's in there about 10 to 12K. As I always say in these times, like, yeah, you could play the market. I probably should have sold mine for 18K, but it's like, there's a lot of hassle, and you got to do the taxes, and then you got to buy it back, and you got to time that right. So it's, again, with the time thing, the time and the energy, it's like, I'm a collector more than anything. So I would rather not have to worry about getting this card again, not lose sleep for a week. Like, was selling a mistake? Am I ever going to have a chance to buy this card again? So it's, it's just one of those things. Like all last week, I was thinking about this green party. Like, oh my God, I hope something doesn't happen. I need to get this green party. So I don't know. It's a lot of anxiety for me to do something like that. But
well, I would say the card did sell a few days ago, but for 2,800. But here was the thing that I found amusing was it was clearly two guys in an ego bidding war. You know how that always works out, right?
yeah.
We were watching this PSA 9 that ended up selling for just under 3K, and it was like a complete ego bidding war, and you could totally tell. Like one guy sent their final, I think what they thought would be the final offer at 2,801. Another person did like 2,851, and this other guy just said, "Screw it, I'm just going to do 2,951." While that other card for 2,800 was up, it's like, congratulations, you just owned yourself.
That's actually what I did with the grand party initially. When I graded my original one in a 10 and sold it.
Yeah.
I do that a lot. Like, as I'm bidding for something, I keep a mental note and like even the same tabs up for cards that are there for buy it now. There was this one raw buy it now that I was like, this card's probably going to grade a 10. So I was watching this 9 that I was wanting to bid on, and that price of the already graded 9 ended like, I think it was like, I don't know, like $200 above this raw one that not only did I think we get a 9, but it had a strong possibility of a 10. So I bid it up to the price of that raw card. And as soon as it ended, like within 2 minutes, I bought the raw one instead.
Yeah.
So I like bid it up. I'm like, all right, lost, buy this one. And it came back a 10. And instead of picking it up for Well, yeah, I picked it up for like $750, I think, right after the 9 sold for like $790, almost $800. And I graded that one and came back a 10, sold it for like $4,000 last year. So it's pretty nuts. And then now I'm buying it back for $2,000.
Yeah. Let me see. I'm curious. I can't remember how many Mario Pikachus there are in 9. I was just kind of curious because basically the value of that card is, I would say, no more than 3K. If you're paying 3K, you're slightly overpaying on market. So yeah, full art Mario Pikachu. Yeah, there's 300 and wait, hold on, no. I'm not. Is this a 9? I hate PSAs. Pop report. No, yeah, okay. So 9 is the second to last. Be patient with me. Okay. Wait, there's 352 9s. That's it. There's more 10s than there are 9s. I didn't realize that.
Oh yeah, it's probably true for all those.
I
Like a
mean,
20th anniversary Festa's the same way. It's almost like when I was downgrading cards to 9s, like that's actually one of the biggest problems. It's harder to find the 9s than the 10s. So
I mean,
it's
it's like a
hard
75.
to downgrade.
I mean, it's like a 75% 10 rate.
Yeah.
1256 out of 1600. That's also why 10s are more plentiful. You would think 9s would be about 50% then of the 10s, but that's not the case.
Yeah.
It's like 40%, 45. But
Yeah, right
yeah,
now it looks like the 10s are 68-ish. I would be comfortable paying.
you could probably if yours is the only one up for a buy it now, you could probably get around 72, 7300.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean that would put that puts the Mario 10 or the Mario 9 potentially undervalue. Like they should probably be pretty solid around 3K, but they're just below that. So I would say right now would be actually a good time to buy because of that very reason.
Yeah.
But either way, we've been kind of talking about this now for over a year, and we've been both saying it's going to be around 3K by the end of the year, and I think that's going to hold true. Some might sell like 32, 3300. Some might sell for 2,900, but I think you're going to see around that 3K. Now, next year and beyond is a good question.
Yeah, I think they're going to be steady.
Exactly,
They're
I agree.
doing the correction thing now because they kind
Yeah,
of got over inflated. But as I was looking up this Mario just now, I saw a 20th anniversary Festa sell for 13,000, and it was at like 11,800 the last one I saw on Instagram. So it came all the way down, and now that sale's up again. So it's probably going to level out around 10K
yeah.
when it was 4K before.
It's one of
Mario's
those
the
things.
same. I mean, it might, if it comes down a little more, I could see it settling down about 6,500 and then
And then
mellowing out there and then slowly climb again.
I think you're going to see a more steady 15% growth each year and going forward.
The card that surprised
But
me the most is the poncho that I have on my list. I mean, that one right there, I don't know. It's the best poncho to many people, with the pose and all, but it's outperforming the Mario. It is a little like more niche. It's got the Charizard on there, but yeah, it's quite challenging to find that card. That card's going to be hard to get for me.
yeah, I
That'll
was
be
going
the
to say,
last grail I pick up, and a 10 in that's going for 6,000, so just barely under the Mario. It beats Luigi.
yeah, Luigi's actually kind of surprising how much difference there is between Luigi and Mario. Like, I would expect a difference, but not that much.
Yeah.
I would almost argue the Luigi Pikachu is undervalued.
Yeah, I would like to
Is
pick one up eventually. The Luigi, there's 3 cards on my list. Well, actually 4 cards on my list that I don't have that are going to be really hard for me to get. Because in order for me to get them just by funding my collection, I'm probably going to have to grade my first editions or my gold stars and like sell them off. Something that I really need to think about this next year. But it's that Poncho XY207. It's the Luigi Pikachu, and then there's also a In's Resolve trainer card from the Best of XY set that I really like. It's my favorite trainer card of all time. And then I want to get the Here Comes Team Rocket from the Rocket box. Like, I like that card a lot. Don't even really care for the Giovanni, but I like the Team Rocket one.
Yeah. So we did see a couple near mint raw Luigi's as well, beyond that 2400. We only saw like one Poncho 9. There was another table that had it, but we missed it supposedly. It was like a Magikarp Poncho 9, but we missed that card, I guess. But anyways, one of the raw ones was a near mint. It would have been an either 8 or 9. Like it was a 50-50 on which one it would have been. And the guy that had that also had this CGC 8.5 Shiny Rayquaza, and he was wanting way too much for it, like 1,600 for a CGC 9. In reality, it should have been maybe 1,200. And this was towards the end of day one. He wasn't really willing to go down much, and I understood. It was like the last 30 minutes before the day was going to end. And then that was one of the first places I went after we got the Sean Himmel signed. I was curious. It was like 10:30, and there was a guy there that was I didn't quite know what was going on at first because the vendor table, he basically included me on the negotiation for the Luigi Pikachu, which he didn't have the day before, so we got it first thing that morning.
Yeah.
Or he shut it off that morning. He was wanting like 1,500. I'm like, again, that's way too high. I would have been willing to do like 1,100. And he quickly included me in on this deal that I didn't quite know was actually happening. I wasn't sure if this guy was just like thinking about it, and I didn't quite understand what was going on. But he included me verbally, the vendor, the person whose cart was in this sale. Like, I think this guy over here talking to me wants to get in on this. And I thought the other guy was just going after like one or two cards, not all three. He was trying to get that 207 promo that had the dent in it that we've discussed before.
Yeah.
So this guy was trying to get the 207 chart or Poncho Pikachu. That was raw. The Luigi Pikachu and the CGC 8.5 Shiny Rayquaza Poncho. So he was trying to do a deal for these three while trading his Mega Tokyo XY card. That's the one where it's like a Poncho Pikachu chasing after another one. It's like $1,300 or something like that.
Yeah.
So he was trying to include like that for trade and then the rest cash. So I quickly I didn't know. It seemed like they were too far off, way too far off. So I thought I had a chance. So I stuck around for like 15, 20 minutes. And that's when I tried to call you because I let you have like all my trade. I had the cash, but I let you have I even threw the cash in with you, I think, right? Yeah. Because I didn't want to be walking around with a wad of cash, and you had like a bag that could store it properly.
Yeah.
But I couldn't get a hold of you, so I just kind of waited there. And this deal transpired, and the vendor used me as a negotiation tactic. I quickly read what was going on, and he was asking, "What would you pay for that Luigi Pikachu?" I was like, "I'd pay 1,400." In reality, I wanted 13 to 1350, is what I really would want to pay for. But I was trying to get him help, so the other guy would go away. Essentially. And he knew exactly what I was doing. The vendor did. And then a minute or so later, when it looked like it was falling apart, I was like, well, that looks pretty near mint to me. When I said to Luigi Pikachu, and this guy, the other vendor, I stayed mostly quiet through the 30 minutes, and I was included verbally on the deal from the person who owned the card. So I thought all was good, but I still kept quiet because I understood the context of, letting him have first dibs. But I stayed there because I felt like I had that right.
Yeah.
And he turned over to me, putting his arm on my shoulder. "Excuse me, this is a negotiation." And I'm like,
"Excuse me."
And I'm like, whoa. And I shot back quick. Like, I was pretty tired. 2 days of being sleep deprived. So that puts me a little bit on edge. Puts it to I really don't try to hide being kind,
Yeah.
and I just shot back like, dude, I haven't done anything at all these last 30 minutes. I've been waiting for you guys to come to a deal. And he's like, oh, 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 oh. He immediately like put his arm on his shoulder, like on my shoulder, and like, oh, I realized I probably shouldn't have tried to start shit with a stranger. Like, I'm not trying to say like I'm a
Well,
big
and he's
bad guy
just
because
sitting
I
there
don't think I
dealing for
am.
30 minutes. It's like, come
But
on.
like, I was patient, okay, and I at this point it was very rude. In addition, one of this vendor's friend, there was some like I don't know groupie that came up to him, and this other guy started recording like these two guys are millionaires arguing over like $500, and I'm like, oh my god.
Got
I
pulled in.
already don't like both of you already before this whole interaction occurred because you mentioned something at the end of day one. We dealt with this guy last year, and we both had things that we didn't like about this guy. I don't remember what it was, but there was some sort of vibe we got that we hated. And then I dealt with that,
Was
and
it the
then he
guy
was,
with the girl there too?
yeah,
Like in
yep.
the
They were
corner?
selling like these like I don't know these plastic things that had like Pokemon on them, and the guy was like saying, "I'm just trying to get rid of some of my collection or something like that." That's what he was trying to
I
say, and
just remembered them. I don't remember like a bad experience. I just remembered like them being pretty hard to work with, is what I
yeah,
remembered with them.
I
Because we
mean,
didn't do any deals with them last year. And I remember
and then
talking to him.
yeah, and I remember saying like after I came back like 40 minutes later, I saw the Mega Tokyo card in his case, and I figured it was already sold. I was like, "Did you guys made a deal?" And he was like, "Yeah, we did." And I was like, "Oh, okay." I tried to help you out there. It's like I realized you did, but that kind of ended kind of strange. Like the guy was a major douche. Like I was just blunt. And he was like, "Well, the guy's like friend." I was like, "Well, I don't care. Like that was rude." And like how that went down. And I was like, "Well, you didn't. You shouldn't have bought a deal." I was like, "I didn't. You included me on that deal, dude. Like it was a weird situation, but it was you used me as leverage to get more out of him. And I saw what was going on. I was helping you, and I was like, whatever." And like the conversation like came to an end. I just turned around and left.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't gonna waste my time. But that was the worst reaction I had all weekend. Absolutely. And you
So
know
he
what? The
was
guy
kind of upset that you didn't come to a deal or what?
he made it. I think he was kind of rubbed the wrong way. How I basically just called out his friend, but like that was uncalled for. How the interaction went down, and
Yeah.
I felt like I was made into a scapegoat, and both of them like both used and treated me poorly. Is the vibe I got, and it was just one of those things where I was just very frustrated with. But that was the worst experience, and if that guy's even there next year, I don't plan on even trying to do business with the guy.
Yeah. My worst was that grand party situation I talked about. I mean, and that wasn't even bad. It was just kind of, well, it sucks to see it go kind of thing. So I liked pretty much dealing with everybody. The only cards I did not sell there are the Blue Eyes White Dragon 9 from the starter deck Kaiba. But I already had that card on eBay and I had an offer waiting there. So I just, anyone there couldn't buy it for what my offer is because they're going to turn around and sell it for the same price on eBay. So I just took that back home with me and accepted the offer. The Delta Species Ninetales, though, from the EX era, OG EX era, nobody wanted to touch that. It was kind of the same as your like Arceus situation. Very, very niche, like literally one sales point back in January is the last thing I had for it. So it's a very niche card. Got it up on eBay now. I've had it up there for like, I don't know, 4 or 5 days and it's gotten like 20 views. It's just like one of those extremely niche cards. One of the best artworks ever, but it really needs someone specific to buy that one.
And Nine
But
Tails Lover.
yeah. But it's my favorite like EX era hollow for sure. Just the moon in the background and yeah. But yeah, I'm trying to think of anything else. Like we touched on, the music was pretty good this year as far as like loudness. The venue was twice the size, but I also mentioned I'd argue it's probably 3 times the size because yeah, we I showed you that picture from last year, just how much space there were between the tables. This year was twice the area of tables, and the tables were just a lot closer, I feel like. But music was very far away. They had the signatures on one end, music on the other, so there wasn't a clash there. Last year they had them right next to each other, everything kind of up front. But you could definitely hear the music, but you could also hear yourself think, unlike last year.
Mm-hmm.
It was like yelling, trying to get deals done during the shows. But, yep.
I say the only thing I can think of is seeing a PSA 9 Munch Psyduck card signed by Komiya. Now, I know Komiya doesn't really do a lot of signing. He apparently doesn't like signing some of his work, from what this guy was saying, unless you like come up to him. Like if there's an exhibit he did and he signs some of these cards. But because he doesn't really sign, the folks were asking $33,500 for a PSA 9 Munch Psyduck, and I was just like, so you're basically saying that signature is worth $33,000.
Yeah.
That's basically what they were saying. And at first I thought he was like, he meant 3,500 when we know he was like 33,500. And I'm like, where the hell did you get that number from?
Yeah, he was definitely a signature guy. He had quite a few of them.
Yeah.
He's the guy who hires his friends to go sit in these lines and take spots from other people just to get his signatures. So
Yeah, like he said, he had a whole crew in Baltimore for Kuki Saito, and there's another one for Arita where he had like 12 people, and every single one had 3 things for him to sign, and each person could keep one card, and the other 2 were his for the business.
yeah.
So I mean,
that's kind of scummy, but
I get it. Like, let's be real though, we would try to get much signed by Saito or Arita if we could. But yeah, I mean, it's frustrating because they did take the line from other people who are probably trying to get their actual cards that they want to keep. But
yeah, I remember the artwork on the Psyduck. It was really good. Like he drew, there's Gengar. This goes back to an argument we had in a really early episode. You thought it was Ghastly in the background, but Komiya drew the Ghastly on the card because he was missing from the background. So you got the Haunter Gengar in the background, and he hand drew with the signature a Ghastly in the back. So it was a very cool sketch and signature. But yeah, definitely.
You got to find a Komiya lover who's willing to pay that much, and my guess is it will probably settle for 5 figures, but not 33,000.
Yeah.
Personally, I would want to regrade it unless the centering's bad, which is the issue for most of the Munch Psyducks, is the centering's off. That's why there's so many 9s.
Yeah, kind of all of them. My 9 Mimikyu is centering problems.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess we should wrap up the show talk.
For sure.
This episode is going to be quite long.
Yes, it is.
I guess we will touch on one question really quick. Try to keep it short, but you had a good one that you brought up. So we can go ahead and answer that one if you'd like.
My question is, will Pokemon conventions rival or be comparable to baseball card shows in about 10 to 15 years?
I think yes. There's been a lot of talk of this. I know when Radar and Swolepoke did a podcast recently. That was Jeremy, aka Swolepoke's hot take. Mm-hmm. He said Pokemon will outdo sports. I mean, we're already seeing it in some aspects as far as like types of cards graded. I do think Pokemon kind of is overgrading right now, but when you spread this out for 20, 30 years, things will balance out. And if you look at what happened with sports cards, I wonder if Pokemon will do the same thing, but it's essentially only the true best of the best like stand out. So you go back, you go way back to the early days, you have Babe Ruth and Mickey Mantle and all those guys. Only
Honest Wagner.
Honest Wagner. Only a very select few stand out, and they're real people. So will Pokemon have that same effect? Like, will we ultimately get to where there's just so many cards that everything, like 99% of all cards in between the big ones, just kind of fall to the wayside? One thing Pokemon does have with it is that it can connect across generations. You know, Charizard is still around. There's not, you know, a death or irrelevance factor as there is with a real person. You know, the person just has to be so above and beyond to stand the test of time, because there is so many baseball players and all that, and sports players. So they really have to be an outlier and unicorn. You know, we're watching one today, Shohei Ohtani. He's no doubt going to be one that sticks out if he just remotely keeps doing what he's doing.
He doesn't even have to. He could fall apart, but still what he did was so big. His card is going to have a lot of people after it.
Yeah. You got your, you know, LeBron James, Steph Curry's, you know, you got your Patrick Mahomes. But how many others, how many number 2 guys or number 3 guys will stand the test of time? And with Pokemon, I mean, it's really, really nice with that. You know, you just see them really stand the test of time because they don't die. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. I feel like Pokemon is just more organic and natural, nostalgic. The nostalgia factor compared to sports in our generation is just magnified so much. And yeah, I think one day the card shows will be mostly Pokemon. Just the last 2 years, we're seeing Collecticons really take off. Card Party was started this year. That's going to be a yearly thing. So, yeah, lots of stuff to check in on.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely saw a big increase, and we saw the groundwork that could make these really big. The biggest one being some people coming for these signatures, but you saw less of like personal like collections at these places and more like actual vendors. And I can only see it getting bigger from here.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is how people can make money. They can advertise here. And again, the biggest thing is this stuff can be done in cash, all cash. So it's one of those things where you don't have to, since it's all cash, there's no like record of it. It's one of those things where there's a lot of money that you can use to make your revenue appear less.
Yeah.
Because basically the cash you take home is cash that you can continue to use to buy. You know, it's just one of those things.
Yeah, and we've seen the same effect to collecting, and like I call it the thinning out, you know, where the greats remain great. We've kind of seen the same effect to our Whatnot streamers this year.
Yep.
You know, like only the biggest of the big stayed around. Everyone else is just kind of at the bottom. It's kind of like what happens to YouTube. Like, sure, you can make a living off just a few thousand YouTube subscribers if you do it right, you know, with other revenue streams.
Patreon and stuff, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, but in the grand scheme of things, like 99.9% of people making YouTube videos just do it for fun and are not even close. So what does that look like? That's my biggest question for the hobby over the next 40, 50 years is like, what does that look like for Pokemon? 40 years from now, is base set going to be, you know, I guess base set will always be great, but like,
because it's the first, so it's notable.
Yeah.
Simply because of, you know, it was the first. So
Yeah.
the first few sets are going to be more memorable than some of the ones in the middle, like from the Lost era.
Yeah, but like you look at Neo era, is Neo going to be relevant? Like you'll have the first edition Lugia, which will probably stand out, but the second most hype card of that entire thing, maybe Ho-Oh, maybe Umbreon, but does that even stand the test of time? Because we have Moonbreon from 2 years ago. that has outpaced even the OG Moonbreon. So, out of all the Umbreon cards, is Evolving Skies Umbreon going to be the one that's going to outshine them all, and everything else is going to be like meh? But the reason that all happens is just because there's just so much to collect, There's just so much out there. That's why EX Era never really saw the crazy hype like we thought it would. There's just so much else to collect. But, yep, we're going to be talking about that in the future, I'm sure, many times. But guess we'll wrap it up there. This episode was a good one. This is some of my favorites when we just chit-chat, and especially having Collecticon, one of our favorite topics, and, story generators of them all.
Yep.
So, last year was all about the WotC and nobody buying sealed, and this year's about the promos and this and that. Who knows what next year will bring? But anyway, guys, thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed our little interview, and be sure to like, subscribe, share the podcast if you're interested, and we'll see you in the next one.
Until next time, peace.